Hey guys, welcome to BGP tutorial part 1. In this video, I will configure BGP to this directly connected routers. First, we have router A. It's under AS100. Behind router A, we have a network. It's network 11.11.11.0/24. And then we have router B. It's within AS200. Behind it is a network 22.22.22.0/24. Since these two routers are from different ASs, they will be externally they're going to be externally connected in terms of BGP. So they're going to be eBGP. And one thing I wrote down here is that administrative distance. By default, external BGP has an administrative distance of 20. And then also for internally learned BGP routes, iBGP is going to be 200. Cisco recommend not to change them, but you can change them. All you can do is when you go to the router BGP AS number, and then you just put distance BGP, and you're going to provide three numbers. The first one will be external, the second will be internal, and the third one's going to be local route, locally learned route. But I'll show you this AD distances once we start configuring them. So first, what I'm going to do is that configure the interfaces of these two routers, and second, configure the BGP configuration where I would specify or manually configure the neighbor, and then after that, start advertising the routes between the two routers. So let's go ahead. I'll show you first. I haven't configured anything on the router. As a matter of fact, I'll show you right now. Show IP interface brief. Nothing. Show IP interface brief. Nothing. Let's go ahead and configure the interfaces. Configure T, interface E0/0. For router A, it's going to be IP address 10.1.10.1, 55.255.255.0. No shut. Exit. For the simulated network behind it, we're going to use a loopback interface. Interface loopback 0. IP address 11.11.11.1.0. Exit. Sorry, and show IP interface brief. Include up. All right, both of those are configured. Let's go to router B. Configure interface E0/0. IP address 10.1.10.2. 255.255.0. No shut. Exit. Let's go ahead and create a loopback for the simulated network behind router B. It's going to be IP address 22.22.22.1. What a mouthful. 255.255.255.0. Let's go and verify our configuration. Interface brief. Include up. All right, so all our interfaces are configured correctly. We'll go ahead and configure the BGP. Configure router BGP 100. This time around, neighbor 10.1.10.2, and it's going to be from remote AS 200. And first, I wanted to show you something here. So we'll go ahead and show IPBGP summary. This is a very important command, especially when you're trying to troubleshoot BGP. In summary, it just gives you a snippet of what's happening, but it's very, very good. It gives you a very fast view of what's happening. So right now, obviously we configured the neighbor NAS, but we haven't received anything, any messages or sent receive between the two routers. And on top of that, the state is idle. So this is a good troubleshooting tools to, especially when you're troubleshooting with BGP. The first thing that you want to check is the state and prefix receive. Normally and preferably, we want to see this area with 0, 1, 2, 3, because that means that the neighbor is up, but it's just that they haven't exchanged some subnets. But in this case, it's the state is idle. Maybe there's a routing problems between router A and router B, or maybe there's a BGP configuration issues between router A and router B, which is the case because we haven't configure router B. So let's go ahead and configure router B and then revisit this this output and see if something changed. All right, let's go to router B. Configure T, router BGP 200. Let's go and specify its neighbor, and it's going to be 10.1. It's coming from remote AS100. All right, show IP BGP summary. There you go. The neighborship just went up. So let's go back, and voila. So now we receive and sent messages. 4 messages was sent. And let's see if we received the same thing. Yep, we received 4 messages, and we also sent 4 messages. And now the state is no longer idle or active. That means that, that basically tells you that the neighborship is up. And on top of that, we haven't received any prefixes yet. All right, so this is the part 3 of our tutorial here. It's basically advertising network behind those router. So let's start with router A. We want to advertise this network. First, let's go check the IP BGP table of router A. Show IP BGP. So right now there's nothing in there. That means that router can't even send some prefix to router B because he has nothing on its BGP table. Let's go ahead and advertise a route. To advertise a route into BGP, all you have to do is put network, then the route that you want to advertise, and then you use the subnet mask. I'm sorry. I should be in BGP process. Then after that, just and end it. So let's go ahead and check router A BGP table. BGP. Voila. So now router A has a network that it can now advertise to router B. Because when you look at the router A BGP table, it has network 11.11.11.0/24. One thing to remember and note here is that you cannot advertise a network if it's not on the router's IP table. So when you look at show IP route, network 11 is directly connected and it's up, and that's why it is okay to advertise it into the BGP table, into the BGP process. But if it's not showing on the router, the default routing table, it will not work. It will not be advertised. So that's something to remember. Because what if we advertise when we configure this? What if we advertise it to 11.11.11.0, but the subnet mask is 255.255.255.128, and then we don't have a route or a prefix of /25 here. It's only /24, so it will not work. So that's something to think about, or remember that you can only advertise route into BGP as long as they exist in the routing table. All right, so let's go check to a router B. See if we receive that prefix that router A is advertising. And voila, it says that, hey, I received a prefix from router A. Let's go ahead and check router B show IP BGP. And there it is. So router A still hasn't received any prefixes from router B. As a matter of fact, we'll go ahead and check that BGP summary. It's still 0. So we'll go ahead and advertise our network behind router B into BGP. Go ahead and go to the BGP process 200, and then it's as simple of doing this 0 mask 255.255.255.0 and show IP BGP. Make sure that it's on router B's BGP table, which it is. One thing to remember, next hop 0.0.0.0 is basically itself. It's locally learned. And then let's see if router A received it. There you go. And then show IP BGP. Yep, we received the network 22.22.22.0 from router B, which is the IP address is 10.1.10.2. All right, guys, that's it. It was very basic configuration. So show run section BGP. Show run section BGP. What we did was basically set the neighbor. We identify the neighbor, and then what AS it is, and then the network we want to advertise. And then BGP. It seems. BGP is very complicated routing protocol because it has many attributes where you can use to basically how you would advertise or you would use a route based on your business policy, because there may be routes or path where you want your traffic to be going somewhere. BGP is really good at it. One thing I wanted to show you is that the administrative distance. So when you do show IP route, and here it is. And same thing for router B, show IP route. There it is for network 11. All right, in my next video, I will create another video where the routers are not directly connected, in a way that we're using the loopback interface as our pairing for BGP. And there are other configurations that we need to create to make that work. All right, I'll see you guys in my next video.